All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're all about birds, those feathered friends in our backyards, and how we can attract even more of them. I think a lot of us see a few birds here and there, but today's deep dive is going to help us all create a true bird paradise. So grab your binoculars because we're taking a deep dive into Mark's backyard birds, and specifically his video, The Real Reason Birds Are Avoiding Your Yard. You ready to unlock the secrets to a backyard bustling with birds?
Oh, absolutely. I'm excited to break it down. I think one of the biggest aha moments from Mark's video was realizing just how much bird behavior changes throughout the year. And it all starts with understanding their food sources.
So true. I think most of us probably just assume birds are hungry year-round and will flock to our feeders no matter what. But Mark kind of throws a wrench in that, thinking,
Yeah, he does. Especially when it comes to early fall, late September, early October. That's when a lot of birds are actually feasting on nature's bounty. Think berries, seeds, all those natural goodies that are ripe for the picking.
Makes sense. I guess it's like their version of a Thanksgiving feast.
Exactly. Mark actually uses this great analogy. He compares the woods to a buffet, offering a variety of choices and a sense of safety for the birds versus our feeders, which are kind of like the fast food option.
So they're choosing the gourmet organic spread over our processed sunflower seeds. I get it, but does this mean we should pack up our feeders till winter?
Not necessarily. Mark's got some great tips for enticing them to our yards even during this time of abundance.
Okay, I'm all ears.
So one idea is to offer foods that mimic what they're already finding in nature. Things like dried berries, mealworms, even chopped nuts.
Oh, that's smart. So we're kind of easing them into the idea of our backyard as a food source.
Exactly. You're thinking like, Mark, now this period of natural abundance, it doesn't last forever.
How long are we talking here?
Mark says about 4 to 6 weeks, and then things change pretty dramatically.
So the party's over when the weather starts to turn.
Right. Once those stress conditions, as Mark calls them, set in cold weather, harsh temperatures, snow, you name it, that's when our feeders become truly essential.
So suddenly finding food becomes a lot more challenging.
Absolutely, and that's when those little guys really need our help. Foraging takes so much energy when resources are scarce and temperatures plummet.
It's like trying to find a decent meal during a blizzard.
Exactly, and that's where our feeders come in. They offer a reliable source of energy when they need it most.
So timing is everything we need to shift our thinking from supplementing their diet in early fall to providing essential sustenance as winter approaches.
You got it. And not just any sustenance. We need to talk quality over quantity here.
Yep.
And Mark is a big proponent of that.
Yeah, he really emphasizes using high-quality seed to attract those desirable birds.
Right, those colorful songbirds everyone wants to see in their backyard. But it's not just about aesthetics, it's about nutrition.
Okay, break it down for us. What makes high-quality seeds so special?
Well, Mark gives this eye-opening comparison. He talks about his no-waste plan, which has around 25% protein and 45% fat.
45% fat. Wow, that's serious fuel.
It is, and then he compares it to a cheaper mix with a measly 7% protein and 2% fat. Talk about a nutritional landslide.
So during those chilly months, that extra fat and protein pack, a powerful punch for those little birds, right?
Exactly. They need that extra energy to stay warm and active.
Yeah.
It's amazing how those tiny songbirds are so efficient at converting food into fuel.
It's like giving them premium gas for their tiny feathered engines, so we're convinced on quality. But what about specifics? What types of seeds should we be looking for?
Mark mentions sunflower hearts, safflower, and peanuts as being real crowd pleasers, especially for those cardinals, chickadees, finches, woodpeckers, the real showstoppers,
So I'm guessing the cheap seed mixes with lots of millet or cracked corn. Those aren't going to attract the same A-list crowd.
You got it. Those mixes often have fillers that appeal more to sparrows and blackbirds, which are great birds, don't get me wrong. But if you're looking for variety, those high-quality seeds are the way to go. Plus, they reduce waste and keep your feeders cleaner.
Makes sense. So we've got the gourmet menu covered, but what about the ambiance? I mean, Mark's also pretty passionate about the importance of shelter, right? Especially when natural cover is scarce.
Absolutely. He actually suggests creating a brush pile. Especially for those of us with yards lacking mature trees or shrubs, it's like building a mini bird sanctuary right in your backyard.
Okay, that sounds simple enough, but what's the best way to build one? Should I just start randomly piling up branches?
Well, Mark recommends building it in a teepee shape. It allows birds easy access, but also escape routes if a predator like a hawk or a cat comes lurking around.
So it's both cozy and strategically designed for quick getaways. That's brilliant. It seems like we're really starting to see our backyards from a bird's perspective.
Exactly. And that brings us to another essential element, water. Just like us, birds need a consistent source of clean water. especially during those winter months when everything's frozen over.
A heated bird bath comes to mind. Are there any other options?
Even a shallow dish with a dripper can do wonders. It creates that gentle flow of water, preventing it from freezing solid. Mark actually tells a story about people observing birds desperately gathering around dripping sprinklers during dry spells. It really highlights how essential water is.
It's true. We often take water for granted. So food, water, shelter. Are we missing anything?
Well, one thing that often gets overlooked is the role of native plants.
You mean incorporating them into our landscaping?
Exactly. Think of it as going beyond just attracting birds to your feeders.
Yeah.
It's about creating a thriving ecosystem that caters to their needs year-round.
So we're not just offering a quick snack. We're creating a sustainable habitat that supports them throughout their life cycle.
Precisely. And by choosing native plants, we're not only helping birds, but also supporting pollinators and other wildlife. It's a win-win.
I'm loving this holistic approach. It's so much more rewarding than just putting out a feeder. And speaking of feeders, I remember Mark had some interesting advice about seed freshness.
Oh, he's a stickler for fresh seed. He recommends never keeping it in the feeders for longer than a month and storing any unused seed in a cool, dry place, ideally in the refrigerator or freezer, for no longer than 3 months.
The freezer? That's a new one. I've never thought about storing birdseed like that.
It makes sense though, right? Fresh seed equals happy birds.
Absolutely. We want to offer them the best dining experience possible. Okay, so far we've covered food, water, shelter, fresh seed. What a crash course in bird hospitality. But before we move on, what's one key takeaway that ties all of this together?
I think it's about seeing our backyards. From a bird's perspective, would they feel safe? Would they feel welcome? Would they find everything they need to thrive? If the answer is yes, then we're well on our way to creating that bustling bird paradise.
That's such a powerful thought. It's about shifting our mindset from simply attracting birds to truly understanding and respecting their needs.
So, as we keep digging into Mark's advice, it really hits you that attracting birds isn't just about like the basics, food, shelter, all that.
Yeah, it's about something more like building a real connection with nature.
Exactly. It's like we become caretakers for these little creatures that, we're shaping their world.
I like that idea of being a caretaker. So how do we make sure we're doing it right? I mean, we've talked about the essentials, but are there any common mistakes people make even when they're trying to help?
Oh, for sure. I think one thing people often forget is feeder hygiene.
Feeder hygiene, huh? You mean like we're good about cleaning our own dishes, but those bird feeders...
They kind of get neglected, right?
Get out of sight, out of mind, I guess. But a dirty feeder can't be good for the birds.
Not at all. Moldy or contaminated seed can make them sick.
Yuck. It's like eating off a plate that hasn't been washed in weeks.
Exactly. So regular feeder cleaning, that's a must. And then another mistake is about feeder placement,
Oh, right. Like putting a feeder too close to a window.
Exactly. The birds could fly right into it.
Mistaking the reflection for the sky, poor things.
Or imagine a feeder in the middle of an open yard with no trees or shrubs.
Talk about a sitting duck.
Exactly. Predators like hawks or cats can easily spot them.
So we need to be strategic about feeder placement, give them easy access, but also protection.
Right. Balance is key. And, sometimes people get discouraged if they don't see results right away.
Yeah, they put out a feeder and expect instant bird parties.
Exactly. But it takes time to build trust,
Like any relationship.
Exactly. Keeping those feeders consistently stocked with fresh, high-quality seed that signals to the birds that your yard is a reliable food source.
Like building a good reputation in the bird community.
You got it. So let's try that bird's eye view again. Imagine you're a tiny chickadee flitting through the branches. What would make you feel safe and welcome?
Okay, channeling my inner chickadee, first things first. I need cover, some dense shrubs or that brush pile we talked about.
All right. What else?
Well, a reliable food source, obviously. That feeder full of sunflower hearts, safflower peanuts, oh yeah, and water, can't forget water.
You got it. A dependable water source year-round is critical.
And if I'm feeling extra picky, some native plants nearby, caterpillars, berries, all those natural treats.
Now you're talking creating a habitat that mimics their natural environment with diverse food and shelter options. That's the gold standard.
Like a bird-friendly paradise. And it's not just about attracting birds, it's about supporting the whole ecosystem, right?
Absolutely. Native plants help pollinators, insects, all the creatures that contribute to a healthy environment.
It's all connected. So let's dig a little deeper into these native plants. I'm all ears.
Well, it starts with knowing what birds are in your region and what they like.
So different birds like different plants.
Exactly. Like if you want hummingbirds, you need nectar-producing flowers. For orioles, maybe some fruit trees.
Like a matching game.
Exactly. And your local nursery is a great resource. They can guide you towards plants that thrive in your area.
They're the plant experts, after all.
Right. And your local Audubon Society chapter, they often have plant lists for specific birds.
Perfect resources galore. But we've been talking a lot about the practical stuff, but let's not forget the pure joy of watching birds.
So true. It's easy to get caught up in the logistics, but we shouldn't lose sight of the beauty they bring.
It's like having a front row seat to nature's show. I love watching their behaviors, their colors, listening to their songs.
It's magical. And the more you learn about them, the more fascinating they become.
It's true. I used to think a sparrow was just a sparrow. Now I can tell the different species apart.
It's a whole new world. And the best part is it's a lifelong journey. The more you observe, the more you learn.
And it's contagious. I've gotten my friends and family into bird watching.
It's a great way to connect with people over a shared love of nature.
Yeah.
And anyone can do it.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what's the key message?
Don't be afraid to experiment and observe.
Yeah.
What works in one backyard might not work in another. Pay attention to the birds you see, their preferences, and how your environment works.
As we wrap up our bird attracting journey today, I feel like there's this whole other side to this we haven't really touched on.
Oh, yeah. I know what you mean. We've talked a lot about creating a haven for the birds, but what about the benefits for us?
Exactly. It's more than just a hobby, right?
Absolutely. It's like this connection with nature can be so transformative.
Yeah. It's about slowing down, appreciating the simple things.
In this busy world, taking a moment to watch birds can be so grounding.
Like a mini meditation in your own backyard. I find myself just getting lost in the details,
Oh, totally. The way they move, their colors, their songs.
And the more you learn about them, the more amazing they become.
Each species is so unique.
I know. I remember when I first started really paying attention, I had no idea there was so much to see right in my own yard.
It really opens your eyes to a whole new world.
And the learning never stops.
It's a lifelong journey of discovery.
And it's contagious. I've even gotten my friends and family hooked on bird watching.
It's a great way to connect with people, share love of nature.
And it's something anyone can do.
Exactly. So as we wrap up today, I want to challenge everyone listening.
Oh, a challenge. I like it.
Take some time this week just to observe the birds in your area.
Just observe.
Yeah. Pay attention to their behavior, their calls, how they interact with their surroundings.
You might be surprised by what you discover.
And even if you don't have a backyard, you can still enjoy birds.
That's true. Good old park. Take a walk.
Birds are everywhere, just waiting to be noticed.
Beautifully said. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into attracting birds.
We hope you've enjoyed it.
I know I have learned so much.
Remember food, water, shelter? Those are the building blocks.
But it's more than that, right?
It's about appreciating these amazing creatures.
Respecting them.
And creating a world where they can thrive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, until next time, happy birding, everyone.